Okay, so welcome everybody. And in this quick episode, we want to go through something that is causing parents, us included, a lot of anxiety, and that is back to school. So, Heather, I would love to hear some of your thoughts on what you see as normal when you're working with your families and what you're noticing as the pattern between these families as they're getting ready for school.
I mean, so many different things for sure. It just depends on what families are working with their individual children. But some of the things that really become big for school or even out of school is just the change, the transition from one schedule to the next. It's like families are so stressed about moving into summer, and then finally by the time summer feels like it's settled in and we're doing well, then it's time to head back to school. And for a lot of the families that I work with and the children, transitions from one schedule to another can be some of the biggest upsets in their system, cause a lot of breakdown, a lot of extra behaviors, stress, anxiety that wouldn't be there normally, except that now it is. Another big concern that I have with the parents I work with is communication, especially if their child's not able to communicate about their daily experiences. There's a lot of anxiety about how do I know if the kids are being unkind to my child? How do I know if my child's being treated appropriately and equal to other children? How do I know if they're getting their needs met, being able to ask the questions, or if because they're quiet at the back of the classroom, they're just being thought of as good, but being left behind because they're not able to get their homework done because they don't know how to ask the questions and advocate for themselves. So these are some of the big concerns that I hear. What about you as a mom and what is coming up for you?
Yeah, there's just so much stress around making sure we have all the right supplies and the clothing that fits, and making sure that the children feel ready for school. So their readiness is a big one, and managing my anxiety about, some of the things you listed, like, is my daughter going to be sitting by herself at lunch? And like that pain of knowing that there's going to be inevitably a lot of discomfort that's going to happen, and not being able to be there for her to stop it from happening. So that's all me. And then I'm thinking about her and her anxiety and how I can coach her, and what conversations do I need to have, and what routines do we need to get settled into. It's a lot. There's a lot of balls right now, especially for parents that are also juggling, medical schedules and the IEPs, and what about working with the school and advocating for their child, and what kind of additional resources are needed. So it's a lot. So I feel like parents, if there's anything that we can reassure you here, is that if you're feeling a lot of anxiety right now, you are not alone.
No, you're definitely not alone, and it's okay to feel all of that anxiety. And sometimes anxiety is a part of what helps move us into action and helps us to get the problem solved. And so maybe it's not always a bad thing, even though it may not be the favorite emotion to feel. It definitely helps move me into action. I have my own concerns with my kiddos and whether they're going to have the friend group that they had last year and what the new schedule is going to look like and how all of that fits in, and working full time, how do I manage the drop offs and the pickups and the different things that need to happen that are rearranging my schedule again as I rearranged for summer and now rearranging again for the fall and school year. And it gets to be a little overwhelming, but taking one bite at a time, I think, can be really helpful. Making sure to just breathe, like we talk about, take a breath and remember, like, how do I connect to myself? What are my needs? What are the most important things for me about heading into the school year? Which points on my list can I take care of? And which things that I'm concerned about do I have no power or control over? and how can I address the things that I'm concerned about? Who can I talk to? A lot of parents that I work with, I recommend reaching out early for 504s and IEPs and providing support for them with them at those meetings. As a BCBA, I can do that if I can't be there, helping them reach out to resources such as the Parent Center that can assign a parent advocate to help be at IEP meetings, help the parents know what resources are available for school. And that can sometimes, like we talk about, reaching out into the community can really help to ease some of that anxiety.
Yeah. And then also, I feel like it's important to get some of these routines on the map ahead of time, making sure that you've given plenty of time to your child to walk through, like, this is where your classroom is going to be. Here's the locker. This is who you can talk to. If you're in a pinch, this is how you get to the bathroom. And also sleep schedules at home. Like, this is what time we're going to go to bed. Let's practice this. And here's how it's going to look when we wake up in the morning. And so that they've got a moment to really feel into that and not be surprised, because the more time and attention that can go into these explanations and this type of care, the less that their systems are going to feel stressed with the newness of the new school year.
Yeah. And I definitely know another big one is getting your kids back up early in the morning after the relaxed nature of summer and being able to sleep in a little bit. And kids can resist that early rise. It's a,
Parents
I
can
mean, I
resist
resist the
that
early rise.
too.
100%. That's such a hard one. And getting them to school on time and the pressure that schools put on parents to make sure your child's there on time. And that's actually something that I worked with a school on for one of my children, to allow for classes in the morning that were not essential during middle school and high school, so that if my child was late, then it wasn't as big of a deal. And we did that through a 504. Um, but it is a big concern.
Yeah. Also, I think another thing that is really important is to build in time to talk about the nervousness ahead of time, to call out what is being felt. Oof, I'm feeling a little bit of fear about this, dot, dot, dot. And being able to have time for that beforehand and then time to decompress after. And that decompression can be verbally. For some children, they're going to love that. For others, it might be quiet. It might just be a time to be on their screen so that they know every day they have something that, after the stress of school, gives them an opportunity to calm down, and they're safe, they're in their home. And that decompression can be really important to build into our schedules.
Yeah, and also remember that for some children, even though it seems nice to think about decompressing in a calm way through looking at their electronics, or, reading a book or taking quiet time in the room or using some of their sensory things like swings and whatnot, that there are also children that, because of the need to what they call mask, where you're performing for your environment all day long, coming back home into your environment, for a child, the breakdowns that happen. And it can seem like doesn't make sense, nonsensical almost in some ways, why your child would come home and just have these huge breakdowns and emotional releases. But one of the ways that I like to frame that when I'm working with parents that have that experience with their child is that this is their way to decompress. It's their way to get all of this energy and stress and anxiety out of their system. And it's a lot. It can really wear on a parent, it can really wear on a child. It exhausts children when they go through these really big releases. And if we as parents can see that instead of seeing it as defiance, because it's usually, hey, go get the dishes done, or hey, it's time to eat. And then it's just like, the whole world falls apart. And, I had some of that in my own family, and it can take a lot to start to begin to understand what that is, because the framework of society that I grew up in for me was that my child was being defiant, or that they weren't listening to me. They didn't want to do what I asked them to do. and being able to be where I'm at now and understand that a lot of this is just that release of energy, and they need something to be the key, the little piece that opens up that energy valve so that it can just release. And then
Mhm.
they get tired and exhausted and can break down into like rust, and then that's a place where we can engage with them again. And if you're a parent that knows that that's a part of what experience happens in your home, prepping for that, what can you do to help make that transition a little easier? Are there things that will help prepare them so that the explosion doesn't have to be so big? Is there a time frame before you give requests that would help them be able to decompress and regulate a little bit better prior to starting to put demands on your child? There are things that we can do, but yeah, those can be some pretty intense moments to the decompression after school.
Mm. Yeah, I really love that you say that because I think even as adults, if we're really paying attention to our cycles after we've had a really stressful day, that's when we are at our most delicate. And so when we can anticipate that as parents and better hold that and better find releases, like, do you guys want to stomp on the ground or let's make noise or, something that can support them finding channels for that release that feel appropriate to where they're at and that also are helpful for them. That's going to be equipping them with tools, but it does require a bit of paying attention to when are those tantrums happening and finding those patterns so that we as parents can show up with better tools ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. We wish everybody good luck. It's a big time, a big season, lots of money going out, lots of energy, lots of driving around and getting school clothes and school supplies and going to schools and setting schedules and rearranging. So, best of luck.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
also have a free newsletter. And if you want to get some of these tips and tricks to your inbox each week, we will link the code down below so that you can go ahead and sign up.
Thanks for being here. You got this.